Still a few seconds.
Okay.
I actually think we're live.
We are?
We are. Hi, Krishna Divya.
Hi, Krishna.
Well, thank you so much for coming back to the GPC Strategic Planning Team Facebook page, where we host a number of live events on many different topics and projects in ISKCON. And we, Ananda Vrindavan, interviewed you the other day, and we got so many wonderful comments about that. So we're so glad that you're back here to teach us some recipes for the summer season, especially some enlivening recipes to get us out of this pandemic kind of sadness, more like it. So I'm really looking forward to you sharing some of your stories. I think you're going to focus a little bit on highlighting a little bit of what you learned from Yamuna Devi. So without much ado, I'd like to hand it over to Divya Alter. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor. It's a real pleasure. I love doing this, and I had a lot of fun last time, so thank you for having me again. We're broadcasting live from the Bhakti Center in Manhattan. And one thing that I learned from Yamuna Devi, Srila Prabhupada's disciple Yamuna, she was one of my cooking mentors, and I always take so much inspiration from her and from her books. And I was very fortunate to be able to spend time with her and Dina Tarini at their ashram when they used to live in Sharanagati in Canada. And this was a wonderful time for me. And the first thing that Yamuna taught me about cooking was that whenever you start cooking, you always offer respects to our spiritual masters with the mantra Om Jnanati Mirandasya. So I'm just going to start with this, and we'll take it from there. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Yamuna shared with me how when she was still very young and didn't know how to cook much, Srila Prabhupada asked her to cook for him. And she said, but Prabhupada, I'm not a good cook. I don't know what I'm doing. And then he told her, just chant this mantra. And by the mercy of the spiritual master, you will be empowered to do anything. So when I visited her, I stayed with her and Dina Tarini for about 10 days at their ashram. And every morning I would go and I would be so eager to help her for cooking breakfast and lunch and light dinner. And I would just go in the kitchen and like, tell me, what can I do? And she would say, would you chant the Om Jnana for me first? So every time she would remind me to kind of set my intention and my consciousness that everything we know is because we've had great teachers, and we always offer our respects to them before we start anything. So thank you. Now I would like to share with you 3 recipes for balancing our bodies and mind during the summer. They're all based on Ayurveda, Ayurvedic recipes. And Ayurveda always teaches us how to balance with food, with our lifestyle, with the environment. And to me, this is one of the easiest ways to maintain a sattvic lifestyle that helps us, kind of takes away a lot of obstacles that we may experience with our body and mind, create more balance so that we can offer a best service to others. And one of the ways to balance with food is to eat seasonal. Seasonal, not just seasonal ingredients, but also seasonal, using seasonal seasonings. Or like in the summer, we use more cooling spices like coriander and fennel and rose petals and curry leaves, different different herbs like cilantro. In the winter, we need more warming spices to support balancing with the cold temperatures around us. So, and also, of course, using more grounding food. So in the summer, when it's so hot outside, today in New York is especially hot. It's very hot today. and we've been sweating all day, and it's very easy to get dehydrated. So in the summer, we need to have foods that are more hydrating, foods that are more cooling. And when I say cooling or heating foods, I don't mean temperature. I mean the metabolic effect that the food or the ingredient has on our liver, especially, but in general, does it increase heat in the body or does it cool it down? For example, zucchini is a very cooling ingredient. It cools down the liver, it reduces heat in the body, it actually takes heat out. So if you're very hot, or if, I hope you never experienced that, but if you had a sunstroke or a heat stroke, eating zucchini with hardly any, basically no spices, will really help drive the heat, excessive heat out of the body. So zucchini, you can make a warm zucchini soup, warm in temperature, but it will cool down your body. Coconut is another great cooling food. Any coconut chutney, coconut water, coconut in any shape, it helps cool down the body. You can have a very cold, you can have a cold tomato salad. Tomatoes are heating, they increase heat in the body. So even though it's cold in temperature, it will actually make you feel more hot on the inside. So Ayurveda teaches us how to balance with foods. And another very heating type of food is anything that's deep fried. So try to avoid deep fried foods in the summer, because you also know if you have too much heat, one of the symptoms is that you start getting skin rashes or breakouts. You experience an imbalance with your skin, or your eyes will become very red and itchy, or you will just feel very like having hot flashes. So these are symptoms of having too much heat in your body. So be careful, don't eat deep fried foods so much. I mean, I don't recommend them at any time, but especially in the summer. And yeah, so I want to show you, the first recipe I want to show you today is cooked apple pre-breakfast. So people often ask me, how do I start my day? How much water do I drink in the morning? And is there anything I can eat? Or I don't I don't like to have breakfast. Should I have breakfast? So it is important to have breakfast because as soon as the sun goes up, and in the summer the sun goes up earlier, we have longer days. As soon as the sun goes up, the fire digestion in the stomach goes up. So it activates our digestion and we may experience hunger. So it's really important to eat when you're hungry. And that's one thing that if you consistently skip or delay meals, this can lead to disease of your liver, your stomach, your digestive tract. So I know it's a little difficult with the morning program and especially fasting days. Today's we're celebrating Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But especially if you have serious acidity issues and liver problems, you may not be able to fast for too long. So make sure that you're not delaying or skipping meals. And this is a recipe, the cooked apple pre-breakfast is a recipe that I learned from my Ayurveda teacher, Vaidya Ramakant Mishra. And he actually designed this recipe specifically for yogis and people who live in ashrams, because he noticed that when we get up at 4 o'clock, by the time we have breakfast, it's 8, 9 o'clock. And during those 4 or 5 hours, it can cause a lot of imbalance for our liver and stomach. So this is a simple recipe that's a pre-breakfast, something that you can have as soon as you get up in the morning, and that it will keep your digestive fire pacified until you have your breakfast. It's super easy to do. I'm going to turn on the heat on my pan here, and while it's getting hot, I will peel the apples. So you're going to take one apple. I always recommend the sweet varieties rather than the sour varieties. This is Gala, and organic is always best. Organic apples, non-organic apples usually have a lot of pesticides. So I'm just going to peel it. Instead of an apple, you can also use a pear for variety. We'll peel it, cut it into pieces, and cook it with a little bit of cloves, with 2 cloves. Let's see, I'm looking at the camera and trying to figure out how to position my knife. I like to cut it into smaller pieces, like this, but really it doesn't matter. Whatever is easy for you to eat. I don't know if you can see the size. This is like bite-sized pieces. My water is boiling now. Let me bring it. I hope you can see. We have limited camera equipment here, so let's see. I just added a couple of cloves, just whole cloves. The stove is beeping because it needs to pan on. Very little water, 2 cloves per apple, and I'll bring it to a boil that will cover it, lower the heat, and simmer it for it takes about 5 minutes. So I really love this recipe because it feels so good when you eat it. And cooked apple in the morning, it helps to kind of activate your digestive fire. Now it's boiling. I'm going to lower the heat, cover it. It activates your digestive fire. And if you have very high digestive fire, if you tend to be more acidic, or if you're the kind of person who's always hungry, then it will pacify you. So it will pacify that hunger so that you can focus better during your meditation, during your japa, or anything else. So you can even have the apple before you shower. You can have the apple before you exercise, if you do yoga or anything else in the morning. It's a very small amount of food. It will not aggravate your digestion if you have it before shower or before even swimming. You could go swimming even. So very simple recipe. It also helps with elimination. So one of the reasons we may fall asleep while we chant japa is that we didn't empty our bowels in the morning. I love to talk about bowel movement. Please forgive me. It's a very important part of detoxification of the body. So ideally, we want to empty our bowels first thing in the morning. And if it's not coming, the apple will stimulate the bowel movement, the peristalsis, just to get going. So that's another reason to have the apple in the morning. It also helps strengthen the immune system. It feels so good in your body when you try it. So please try it at least once, and I would love to hear how you like it. Now let me clean my station. It's always good to clean in between. And the next recipe I want to show you is a very refreshing drink in the summer. Oh, but first let me ask, any questions about this recipe? I would be happy to take questions in between each recipe. This is the first out of 3 recipes. Any questions? Anuradha, do we have any questions? I'm not able to see the screen. No questions? Okay. We'll keep going. Now, I want to show you a hydrating drink, a very refreshing and very simple drink for the summer. I call it the Ayurvedic Gatorade because it's a natural electrolyte drink. It helps hydrate our body on a deep level, and it's also very refreshing and very delicious. So that's another recipe. By the way, all these 3 recipes are in my cookbook, What to Eat for How You Feel. And we'll also have the PDF. We'll figure out how to upload the PDF to this stream a little later. But all three recipes are in my cookbook. So this hydrating drink very much resembles an Indian lemonade, which usually has lemon juice, a, a touch of toasted cumin, a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, and we're also going to add fresh mint leaves. Very simple. I'm just going to make 2 cups. I have 2 cups of spring water here. I recommend for raw, especially drinks that you're not cooking, to always use spring or sparkling could be spring or at least filtered water. And I'm going to, this is lime. Now, limes, people often ask me, why limes, why not lemons? So in Ayurveda, we always describe food in terms of its properties. Is it heating? Is it cooling? What is the taste, predominant taste of the food? What are some of the qualities? Is it liquid? Is it solid? So it's important to consider the properties of food when you think of balance, because we always balance with the opposite. One of the main rules of Ayurveda is sarvada sarvabhavanam samanyam vriddhi karanam. So um, um, ingredients of equal energy increase that energy. In other words, like increases like. So we always balance with the opposite. If it's very hot outside, we feel very hot, we need cooling foods. If it's very cold outside, we need warming foods. We always balance with the opposite. That's why it's so important to adjust our diet, to adjust the way we eat with every season. So limes are sweeter in taste compared to lemons. They're more sweet and they're more alkalizing and they're more gentle. Now, lemons are also sour, predominant sour taste, but they're a lot sharper and they're more acidic. So because of sour taste can increase heat in the body, I always recommend using limes instead of lemons. And my teacher, Ayurveda teacher, Vitamin Sharma said much, just especially if you tend to be more acidic and more like if you could have acidity in your muscles and feel kind of achy, then use lime juice, fresh lime juice for sour taste. And I'm just massaging it a little bit before I cut it, just to release the juice. And we need 1 tablespoon of lime juice. I like this little tool. Always have the cut part on the bottom. Adding it to the water. And then we're going to use a pinch of toasted cumin. So this is cumin that I pre-toasted. I hope you can see whole cumin seeds. I pre-toasted them before the class, just to save time. It has to be very little cumin. Now you may think, why cumin to a limeade, or why do we need that? One of the properties of cumin is grahi. Grahi means to grasp. To another translation is to absorb. So cumin helps with absorption. And in this recipe, cumin will help us absorb the water better and hydrate on a deeper level. And for small amount of spices, I like to use the mortar and pestle. One of the first things Yamuna asked me to do in her kitchen to help her was to toast. There were a few spices, coriander, cumin, maybe fennel was there as well. This is the ground cumin. To toast it to make a masala, to make a spice blend. And I remember, I was a little younger then and more impatient. So I started toasting the spices in a dry pan on kind of medium low heat, maybe closer to medium. And she came and she corrected me and she said, no, it has to be on low heat and this has to take at least 20 minutes. And I'm like, wow, 20 minutes. But of course, I did it. And one reason why we want to dry toast spices on low heat is to release the aroma. When you dry toast the spice, it becomes a lot more, the flavor becomes much stronger. It also activates the spice, activates its healing properties, and it also reduces the heat. So cumin has a little bit of heat in it because it's a little pungent, but by toasting it, it reduces the heating properties. Now this apple is calling me. I'm going to take a break from my drink because the apple is ready. Here. It's very nicely cooked. It has to be soft. Well, if you like it crunchy, make it a little crunchy. I personally like it soft, but not overcooked, of course. Now it's not pre-breakfast time, so you want to have it in the morning. You don't want to have it at night.
Can you just speak up a little bit? They're having a little trouble.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? It's okay. So here's our cooked apple. Again, this is a pre-breakfast. This is first thing in the morning recipe. Vaidya Mishra always said, have it in the morning, don't have it at night. Because at night, we want to calm down the digestive system as we go to sleep. If you eat late at night, and you probably have heard this, it's not good to eat very late at night. Or if your digestive system is very active at night, you will not be able to fall asleep. And also, or you may fall asleep and then keep waking up. So at night we need calming foods to help us fall asleep and stay asleep. In the morning we need foods that energize and stimulate us a little bit more so that we can wake up and be full of energy. So this is the apple. Okay, back to the drink. We have the lime juice, the cumin. Now we're going to add a pinch of salt. Small pinch of salt. I'm using Soma salt. This is Himalayan. This is white Himalayan rock salt. So you probably see Himalayan salt is more pinkish. There is a special area in India where the rocks are more white. And so this is how much salt I'm going to use. Really a small pinch. And the more pink the Himalayan salt is, the more heating it is. Again, more heating for your liver. And in the summer, Soma salt is really the best salt to use because it's the most cooling of all salts. What I love about this drink is that it includes all the 6 tastes of food. And I forgot to take out my. Let's take out my mint leaves. I love this mint. This is fresh mint from our garden upstairs. We have a beautiful rooftop garden in the Bhakti Center. And this mint is like my friend in the kitchen. It keeps growing. It just comes up every year. Mint is very good for digestion. It's very refreshing. And sometimes when you eat, let's say, well, it was really good prasad, but it wasn't the right for you, or maybe you ate too much. A little bit of mint tea can help you break it down. So this is, oh, it smells so good. This is, I just chopped it a little bit. You can also tear the leaves. Take a few more. Okay, this is the mint. What else do we need here? Oh, a little bit of a sweetener. I'm going to use maple syrup. You can also use raw cane sugar. Maple syrup is cooling, so I'll just use a little bit of maple syrup. It's important to add a sweetener because every electrolyte drink is slightly sweet. It just helps with hydration. I think we have everything. cumin is in, water, lime juice, mint, sweetener, and salt. And if you like, you can also add a small pinch of nutmeg. Now, one thing I want to bring up to you is that cumin and also nutmeg are two spices that also cause constipation. So because they help with absorption. So if you tend to be constipated, then skip the cumin and don't use so much nutmeg as well. Now I'm going to blend this. Sorry about the noise. I hope one day blenders will be more quiet. All right, so this is the blended drink. I have a little strainer here, so I'm just going to strain it. It's good to run it through a fine mesh strainer, but you can also skip that part if you like to have little particles of mint. It smells so refreshing. Here, beautiful color. Now, this drink is very interesting. It has all 6 tastes of food, so sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. Sweet comes from the maple syrup, sour from the lime juice, salty from the soma salt, pungent from the cumin, and also a little bit of the mint. Cumin is also astringent, pungent, and mint is also slightly bitter. So in Ayurveda, something that has all 6 tastes, like a dish or a meal, is called tridashik. Tridashik means it has all 3, it balances all 3 doshas, vata, pitta, and kapha. And by definition, a dish that has all 6 tastes is good for everybody, it's good for everybody. That's what I love about this drink. So when you make it at home, you know it's the right taste if none of the 6 tastes is predominant. So it's not too sweet, it's not too sour, it's not too minty, you know. So sometimes the limes are more sour than usual. So if you need to increase lime juice or decrease the sour taste by adding a little bit more water, you can make this adjustment. But this is the perfectly tasting hydrating drink, which will have tremendous hydrating and really like an electrolyte properties for the body, would be to have all 6 tastes in balance in this recipe. And make sure you stay hydrated in the summer. If you get really thirsty, it means you're already dehydrated. And when we're dehydrated, our mind is cloudy, we may feel achy, we're not thinking straight. There are many negative effects to dehydration, so try to stay hydrated. I'm going to put this aside here. And now the last recipe. Any questions? Let's see if we have any questions so far.
What does Ayurveda think about iced drinks?
That's a really good question. Thank you for asking. Well, just imagine our metabolic fire digestion in the stomach, which is technically the digestive enzymes. What happens when you pour ice on fire? Not a very good idea. It diminishes or maybe even extinguishes the fire. So any iced drinks, any iced foods, I'm sorry to say ice cream, they really weaken the digestive fire. And what happens when we have iced drinks and iced foods over time? One day we wake up and we feel so tired when we eat, or we don't have any appetite. or we feel very sluggish and we feel like our body is kind of clogged up. And then from there, all kinds of inflammation can grow. So, no ice drinks. If you feel really hot, you can put ice on your skin and cool down that way, but don't put it in your mouth. Any other questions? No? Okay, we'll keep going. I want to show you one of my favorite desserts for the summer. It's called Almond Rose Delight. And I'm going to start with the first step. And while this is going, I'll tell you the story behind this recipe. So here I have a small saucepan and I have 1 cup of water. And I've been soaking agar flakes, agar or agar, 2 different pronunciations. These are the flakes. Agar is it's a seaweed. It's an algae, and it's used in vegetarian and vegan cooking as gelatin substitute. So it has the gelatinous properties, and it's very nice for just binding things together. So I soaked it. For this recipe, you really have to follow the proportions in the recipe. I have 1 cup of water and 3 tablespoons of agar. And I soaked the flakes so that they can dissolve faster. And now I'm going to cook it for maybe about 5-10 minutes until the flakes completely dissolve. So it will really look like liquid gelatin. And that's a very important step. Now this recipe I learned from my dear friend and also Ayurvedic cooking mentor, Cardamom Seeds. She lives in Ventura, California, and she's a very dear friend of mine. And years ago, she shared this recipe with me, and I just fell in love with this recipe. It has rose water and rose petals and almonds, and it's just so light, but it really tastes divine. And she was very kind to let me publish this recipe in my cookbook as well. So Kandarpa, if you're watching this, thank you so much for the wonderful recipe. Now, the key ingredient for this recipe is soaked almonds. Almonds are one of the best nuts. They're very nutritious. They're fantastic brain food. They really help nourish the brain cells. They're also very good for pregnancy. This dessert is actually really good for pregnancy as well. They are very high in protein and calcium and in good fats, but they're a little heavy. Like every nut, almonds are heavy. That's why soaking them in water, especially if you soak them overnight for at least 8 hours, makes the almonds easier to digest and also makes them less acidic. This is starting to simmer. I'm just going to just stir it occasionally. The agar. Soaked almonds are very good for increasing ojas in the body, for increasing vitality. If you're feeling very tired, if you're recovering from illness, or if you're working so hard and you're exerting your body so quickly, then almonds will be very helpful for you. They're helpful for everybody. So my husband and I, we like to have almonds as a snack, so we keep a jar with soaked almonds soaking in water in the fridge, and every time we need a little protein snack, we have some soaked almonds. So one key thing for this recipe is to peel the almonds. So we did this in advance, but you can see these are unpeeled almonds. And after you soak them, the peel comes out very easily. And if you want to even speed up the peeling process, after soaking, you can pour boiling hot water on top of your almonds for just a few seconds, like 5, 6, 7 seconds, and then drain them. And then the skin really pops out very easily, like this. I know you may think, yeah, who has the time and patience to peel these almonds? But that's one way to develop patience. Patience is a very good quality. Almonds are soaked almonds especially also pacify pitta. And when our pitta is very high, we don't have patience. We want everything immediately, right now. But one way to develop patience is to peel almonds. One time I asked my Guru Maharaj, Krishna Kshetra Maharaj, I asked him, how do we develop patience? And he said, observe the cows. Cows are very patient, very slow, very sattvic animals, and it really, really works. If you observe the cows, you become more patient for sure. All right, now we're going to blend these almonds while we're dissolving the agar. It's almost ready. We'll blend the almonds. I measured 3/4 cups of almonds before soaking. Remember, when you soak them, the volume increases. And I will add 1 cup and a quarter spring water. And now we will blend them until they become very, very smooth. You can do this with any kind of blender if you have a blender that's not very powerful. That's the matching lid. Let me rinse the other lid because this doesn't match. There you go. What was I saying? Yeah, any kind of blender will work for this. If your blender is not as powerful as the one that I'm using, you can just blend it longer. A little more noise, sorry about that. Now they're very smooth. This is, by the way, how I can make also almond milk. If you like, you can strain it to have more milky consistency, or if you like to make a smoothie, you can just add some dates or some berries or something like that and make a smoothie with the pulp as well. Okay, our agar is completely dissolved. Now, I hope you can see this. I don't know if you can see, maybe not. But it has to be very, very smooth. It's liquid and smooth. And I'm going to add the sweetener. Now here I'm using non-refined sugar, please. It looks white. It's actually off-white color. There's a brand called Florida Crystals. This is kind of similar. This is organic. Don't use white sugar. White sugar, we all know, it's actually very toxic. It's not even vegetarian because there's a chemical. Part of the refining process requires a chemical that's derived from calves. So please don't use white sugar, but I'm using whiter color cane sugar, unrefined cane sugar, because this is a white color dessert. Now you could use the darker color raw cane sugar, but it will affect the color. So I like this to be a little bit more white. So I'm going to use non-refined white sugar, and I'm adding it to the hot dissolved agar.
There's one question, Divya. Why did you peel the apple?
Oh, why did I peel the apple? Well, you know, the peel is like the cellophane wrapping of the fruit, and it's very, very fibrous. The peel actually has a lot of nutrients. So if you want to benefit from the nutrients, you can kind of cook the peel as well, but don't eat it, because especially if you have more sensitive stomach, or if you have irritable bowel syndrome or something like that, you won't be able to handle the peel. The peel is more rough. So for people with weaker or challenged digestion, they'll have more of a like a bloating reaction. But if you want to get the benefits of the peel, you can cook the peel, or you can just cut the apple with the peel. We went into, let's say, 4 slices, and when you're eating it, just eat it like this, and it's pretty rough peel. And if you really want to eat the peel, please eat the peel. if it works for you, then why not? I know for myself, I react to the peel. It's a little too rough for my stomach. So here, I'm dissolving the sugar. It's almost there. Can you see? Sorry, the camera is a little challenging. Now I'm going to add the flavoring agent. This is pure rose water. Please use alcohol-free rose water. And also, it should say good for cooking or edible rose water. This is pure Moroccan rose water. I really like this. I use it in my face also as a toner. Rose, I'll tell you about the amazing healing properties of rose in just a moment. Rose is a very special divine herb. The spice for this dessert is cardamom. Now, I want to show you the cardamom seeds and the cardamom pods. So these are the pods. Inside the pods are the seeds. When the recipe calls for ground cardamom, I just grind the seeds because it's a little faster. You can also get the seeds out of the pods. The shell of the pod doesn't really grind to a fine powder. That's why it's easier to grind the seeds. So I buy both. I buy the cardamom pods and the cardamom seeds. Cardamom is fantastic for protein synthesis and protein metabolism. Now remember that almonds have protein in them, and the cardamom, the ground cardamom, will help us digest the almonds. That's why cardamom is there in every chai recipe. A lot of sweets, dairy sweets, dairy desserts. So every time you have something that's higher in protein, you can add. This is the green cardamom, or you can also add the black cardamom. So I'm grinding it in the mortar and pestle, and I want to tell you more about rose. But do you have a question?
Yes. What is the agar for?
The agar is the binder. So see how liquid this is right now. I'll show you when I pour it in the pot. It creates it's like a gelatin. It binds, so we can cut the dessert into pieces, or we can shape it up. It will help keep the dessert. It will thicken it. It's a binder. It's a thickener. But agar is also very nutritious. It has, as every seaweed, it has a lot of minerals, and it also helps cleanse the digestive tract. It's actually very good for. It's not a laxative, but it really helps. Just boom! It's very good for elimination as well. It's a great ingredient to use, and I especially use it more in the summer. You can even mix it with fresh fruit juice and make like a fruit jelly. You can play with it. There's so many recipes. The smell of cardamom just wakes you up. It's very strong and very aromatic. Okay, this is my ground cardamom. You see? I'm adding it to the agar mixture. And I'll pour the almonds. This is the blended almonds. Just mix it together. So back to rose water and rose in general. Very cooling, very calming for the heart. It helps balanced sadhaka pitta. Sadhaka pitta is the emotional pitta, the pitta of the emotional heart. So when we feel very sad or depressed or angry or upset, smell some roses that were offered to Krishna, or have connect with rose in some way, because very, very calming, very cooling. That's why it makes it perfect for the summer. Roses are not just for, for Valentine's Day. They're good for every day. I use rose water every single day. All right. So mixed it. So I want you to notice how liquid this is right now. And in less than an hour, this will be so solid you can cut it to pieces. So that's the magic of agar. And now you can just pour this mixture into a tray. I recommend a Pyrex, like the small square Pyrex tray. Or today, I'm going to use silicone molds just to make it more fancy. I have a heart shape and I have a dome shape. And it'll make it look really pretty. Just notice how liquid it is. And it will become very thick. We actually made some before class, and I will show you what the ready one looks. This is a very refreshing, very uplifting dessert. I don't know how to describe it. It's just so simple, but it's so good for you also. Now, let's say you don't want to use any sugar. You can skip the sugar, and you can serve this with a little bit of maple syrup. Or if you're in a special diet and you really don't have to use sugar, then skip the sugar completely, no problem. And you have to know that this is sweet, but it's not very sweet. It's very gently sweetened. All right. Let's see. I'm going to put this in the fridge. Get some space. Any questions?
No, we just love the hearts.
The hearts love you. And this is the one that I made earlier. I used the heart molds last Valentine's Day at our restaurant. We made heart, like Ayurvedic heart-shaped brownies. This was a special dessert on Valentine's Day, which is the busiest day at our restaurant of the year. And they came out really good. They were gluten-free and vegan and so yummy. So you can see how solid our hearts are now. Oops, let me see. Looks pretty, isn't it? And let me try to take one of those. I think it needs a little, maybe it will come out. It may need a little more time in the fridge. Yeah, this one will come out. Yay! Here's a little heart. And now, the dome shape needs a little bit more time in the fridge. Let's see. And now the garnish is rose petals. I have dried rose petals. These are not the roses from the flower shop. on the floors. It's the edible roses that are used to make rose oil. So you can use, I get them from online. You can also get them from the Indian grocery store. You can use a little bit of rose petals.
Were the molds greased, Divya?
No, they were not greased. What I did is they were slightly wet. They were not dripping wet. I just kind of brushed them with water. Like I rinsed them and then I drained them a little bit. They were still a little bit wet, but not excessive water. You see our little almond rose delight dessert. So let's see what we made here. This is the hydrating drink. And our cooked apple. Three very simple recipes, balancing for the summer, and really delicious. Now my favorite part is to offer them to Krishna. This is always my favorite part of every cooking class, and it's always like to me it like closes the circle of giving and receiving, offering it back, offering the food back to its source. And I always pray that Krishna will bless everybody who contributed to this meal today, and also everybody who tastes it will feel very happy and enlightened, and somehow or other come closer to Him. So, let's chant the mantras. Yeah, maybe. We have a little bit of time. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Swamini Krishna Kshetraya Prabhupada Priyaya Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Nami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Krishnatiri Shikarini Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gaura Krishe Namaha Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. There's also a mantra, a verse that I learned from, I actually learned from Dravida Prabhu, but this is a verse by Rupa Goswami from his Padyavali. And it's another really beautiful verse for blessing the food. And it's a verse that's also used in the Radharaman temple in Bengali. So maybe I can chant that for you as well. It goes like this. Vijastrinam bhakti Viduni Viduranne Vrajagavam Darikshire Sakyus Putachipita Mushta Murariko Yashodaya Stanye Rajayuvati Hete Madunite Yatasida Modas Tamimamapahare Tukurutam. And the translation is something like this, like, oh, my dear Lord, just like you accepted the offerings of the wives of the Brahmins, of the meal that Vidura prepared for you, the offerings from the cows of Raja, the breast milk of Mother Yashoda, the milk products prepared by the gopis, and yeah, a few more devotees. Just like you accept their offerings, please accept my offering and be pleased with it as well. So, any questions?
They want to know about your apron and any other Divya's Kitchen merchandise.
Oh, apron. This is an old one. Actually, my mother-in-law Julia made this for me. It's I used to use it for our cooking classes. We used to do a lot of cooking classes. Now with COVID, we're a little limited, but we look forward to doing it. So this is custom made by my mother-in-law. Very easy to make, actually, if you like to sew.
Any other merchandise you want to tell them about?
No, we don't really. At our store, we have Ayurvedic culture ghee that I make myself by churning yogurt into butter, like the whole process. We're about to release a few culinary products like spice kits and kitschy mixes and things like that. But we're almost ready with that, in maybe a couple of weeks. So if you stay in touch, if you follow us on Instagram at Divya's Kitchen NYC, or my personal is Divya Alter, or Facebook, follow us on social media, or sign up for a newsletter on our website, divyaskitchen.com or divyaalter.com. And our cooking class school is called Bhagavat Life, like Bhagavad Gita, but Bhagavat Life. And if you join our newsletter, you'll be among the first ones to receive the announcements for our upcoming online classes and also in-person classes when the city opens up.
And one other question is, do you personally cook for the restaurant, or have you trained staff to do that?
Yeah, I have a trained staff and I supervise everything and I make all the offerings. It's a lot of cooking. Imagine I cannot do the cooking for 10 people. We have 10 people cooking in the kitchen because we make everything from scratch. We don't reheat. Everything is made fresh. So I train the staff and I supervise them. And my strength is more in creating recipes, educating, because somehow I don't have very strong stamina. So I'm more of the boss right now.
Great. Well, that looks like it's the last question for now.
You want to check it? You want to check in on? Oh, that's okay. It's over here. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
They say your presence is divine.
Oh, it's not me. Thank you for joining us. I hope you can try some of these recipes at home. Try at least one of them. Try the apple. Start there. And I'd love to hear how they come out. And maybe I'd love to see you in person. If you come to New York City, please come visit our restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And Anuradha is showing the cookbook on the screen. If you really like to learn more recipes, you can get my cookbook. This is the first one, and I'm just about to sign the contract for my second cookbook. I'm in the middle of working on my second book in your service.
Thank you so much. I was thinking that because we weren't able to share some of those recipes on screen, the hydrating drink is on page 132. So I was looking for all of them. And I think that the cook's breakfast is on page 143. And okay, I just lost the other one. But this was one of those early release books. And I think a bunch of us got these early release. And it's so, as you can see from it, it's really, really well used. So please, everyone, if you want to get this book, this is so helpful. Divya, thank you so much. We have the link at the bottom here. You can see it where you can get your very own cookbook. Thank you so much, Divya. We hope that we get to see you back here again on this GBC SBT channel. And thank you for sharing all those wonderful stories with us.
Thank you. It's such an honor again. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Bye. Haribo.